Was it you?
No, I haven't died.
I don't think I don't think I died.
I might have been both.
Yeah, I don't think I died with the buggun yet. Or the heavy buggun.
Yeah, maybe it was.
Now I died.
Well,
Now I died. Now I'm dead.
he said, "Let me change that, dude."
It gave me the death screen of him zapping the hell out of me. Oh boy, I dodged the... Okay, I dodged all that. Let's go.
Oh, it's that anyone. You don't care about me.
I think he does it anyway.
I just blocked this shit twice. Who do you think you are? I'm not. Oh, maybe. What?
Well,
Or just standing in orange.
I was off to the side slightly. What's going on, guys? It's Orangey. Now that the beta is, sadly over, but it's not all just sadness because the game is right around the corner. So I am very hyped, but I wanted to give my thoughts on a few things, like doing an, like an overall review of the beta and just Monster Hunter, like my first experience, and just thank the community for helping me out in all of my videos that I posted. I've been getting so many comments and like tips from everybody. It really does mean the world that you're taking time out of your day to watch, a new player like me go through this, journey. So thank you. And I will try my best to bring you guys amazing future Monster Hunter content. Now, I didn't take a picture of it, but I have over like 20 hours in the beta alone. Of course, that's over like the closed beta test or the open beta test to like week 1 and week 2. And over the course of that time, I believe the beta was trying to show old players and a bunch of new players 5 things: the monsters, the weapons, the combat, the location, and the multiplayer. The weapons and the combat could be like one singular thing, but every weapon plays completely different, so I just decided to split them up. This is my first Monster Hunter beta, so if you guys have a different interpretation, or if I'm understanding something a little bit wrong, let me know so I can understand, the thought process in the future. So I guess I'll start off with the main thing, and that is the monsters. And I believe 5 of which is new, and then there's 1 returning, and that is Chatacabra, Doshaguma, or Doshaguma, however you want to pronounce it, Balahara, Gypceros, Raidao, and Arkvel. And Gypceros being the one that's like, returning from like an older Monster Hunter game. Alright, so I guess we'll start in the order that we're supposed to fight the monsters in. Or I mean, you can fight them in any order, it's just the order that I personally fought them in. The Chatacabra, the punching bag of the beta, or I guess just Monster Hunter Wilds. Chatacabra felt like, like when you test everything out, like if you're testing a new weapon or something and you don't really want to go to the testing area, you can just go fight a Chatacabra and you'll be perfectly fine. He throws some moves, you can parry or block, but he's not really that big of a threat. He's just there for, your first monster experience. And he definitely was mine. So it was fun fighting him, and I like frogs, so that frog with like those boxer hands, it was pretty fun. He's basically there to just like to teach you game mechanics. Like wounds are very easy to open up on him. It would either be like on his arms or his tongue, like that counterable move that he does, or on his like butt or behind his legs. I do think he was a very fun monster to fight. Again, just a punching bag, just a place where to test your skills. Now the next monster is a little bit a step above that, the Doshaguma or the Doshaguma. People pronounce it either which way. I say both to please both people. This monster I really didn't fight that much because I went straight to Balahara and Gypceros, but I will give my thoughts on him so far, the few times that I did fight him. I feel like Doshaguma teaches you 3 things: dodge, get out the way, block, and environmental damage. This monster hits way harder and it hits way faster than Chatacabra, so you either dodge or block. I personally didn't get it off, but I know some of my friends that they blocked his attacks a couple times over and they ended up getting that shield charge or like that beam struggle from Dragon Ball, that kind of move in, and it was really cool to watch. And then the environmental damage. Multiple times when you're fighting Doshaguma, he literally stands over these big boulders that like are right above him, and he makes it very obvious because he just goes to that one singular spot. And to knock down the boulder or to knock down any environmental thing, you just go to focus mode, aim your slinger, and like press circle, or I guess B if you're on Xbox, I think, and then it'll come straight down. And if the monster's in the area, you'll do some pretty good damage, or you'll trap him, because the environment only doesn't do damage like with boulders or like falling crystals. There's also vines on trees that you can knock down, and it can tangle up a monster. And with Doshaguma, there is a very apparent like rage mode that he gets in if you like get him too angry, if he gets low enough, where he becomes like super erratic and like he just starts thrashing everywhere. So that's like another game mechanic introduced with Doshaguma, because I don't remember Chatacabra using that at all, actually. And if he did, it was very, very weak, because the punching bag. Next is Balahara the Sandworm, or Shai Hulud from Dune, which is like, you know, the Dune worm. I feel like Balahara and Doshagama are both like the same level, but Balahara has more mechanics introduced. And he introduces 3 things. He delves deeper into the environment, he applies status ailments on you, and finally, dismemberment. So for the environment, he goes underground into the sand, and you can use a screamer pod that you get from the birds flying above you in the desert sometimes. If you aim your slinger at them, you can take a screamer pod from them, and if you shoot it at the ground when Balahara is digging around there, he will pop out the sand like disoriented. And the next environmental thing that he does is that he climbs on these rocks, and he climbs on these certain particular rocks that you can knock down with your slinger. If you end up doing that, it does a lot of damage to him. Next is a new mechanic is ailments. He applies ailments to you. He does this little spinning attack, and it applies, I think, blight. I think it's called Blight. And you can remove it with Antidote. You have to remove it with something called a Null Berry. Null Berries, I'm pretty sure you can find around the map, but for the beta, they're all in our chest. Now, I'm not quite sure what Blight does. I really didn't read that much into it because I ate like a Null Berry immediately. But when the full game comes out, I do want to do a deep dive into every little detail. And finally is dismemberment. Yeah, you can break parts or destroy parts on any monsters, but I think Balahara is the first one where you can actively dismember a part of the monster. And that part, of course, is his tail. And I know only the sword weapons, or like, you know, the weapons with the edge, are the only ones that can dismember. Like, you know, blunt weapons or like the gun or bows can't dismember unless they have like severing ammo. I think I barely touched any of the range weapons. I did the heavy bow gun, or the heavy bow gun, but I really didn't switch ammo types a lot. Now the next monster we have is Gypceros, and I feel like Gypceros is like the pinnacle of like the low monsters. He's like we apply everything to, because he has status ailments, which he has poison, and you can get rid of poison by drinking an antidote. He has a stun mechanic where he flashbangs everybody around him, and if you're in the vicinity or if you don't block, you get flashed and you fall to the ground. And then when he takes a certain amount of damage, he goes into this like rage mode where he starts flailing around and he starts spewing out little poison like pockets everywhere, and if he hits you, it hurts. He does go to these certain areas where you could drop boulders on him, like rocks, for more damage. So that's an aspect of the, you know, environment that you can use. He doesn't have any dismemberment options. He has break options, you know, like which every monster has break options. But Gypceros, oddly enough, doesn't have any dismemberment options. You know, you would think you could cut off his tail, but you know, surprisingly, you can't. Again, let me know in the comments if I missed anything or if I just forgot something. I feel like Gypceros is like the first wall in terms of like monster difficulty in the beta, because it's a big jump between like Balahara and Doshagama to Gypceros. The difficulty spike is, you know, pretty noticeable. And after you fight all of those monsters, you can finally apply all your skills to the apex. And my favorite monster in the series, Raidou. I mean, the only monsters I've had experience with in the series are these 6 monsters, but you know, it's my favorite. Now, Raidou encompasses pretty much everything we've talked about up until now. Yes, he even does apply a status effect on you, like Lightning Blight, and he does introduce one more thing, and that's one-shotting the shit out of you. If you don't move out of the way of his like rail cannon strikes, yeah, you're gone. So far, I've seen he has like 3 modes. He has like one fast mode where he shoots him out like multiple times, like do. He has like one medium mode, and then he has the really big, it takes a minute to charge up and bang, it's like a big nuke. The medium one and like the fast one you could survive, but that big charge up nuke version, yeah, I don't think you're surviving that. I do believe you can block all of them. You do take damage, but it's significantly less than like, you know, just outright dying. And blocking, I mean with like, you know, the lance or the gun lance. He also has these crystals on his tail and like left and right wing that you can break off and make it easier to make wounds. And it's just super satisfying when you're hitting the tail of the wing and you see the crystals just like flying off in every which direction. His tail is also severable. It's so satisfying if you cut it off and it goes flying and then boom, it hits the ground with like an impact. It's amazing. When I think of Monster Hunter, because I'm new, when I think of this fight is just Monster Hunter for me. And even the music when you're fighting Raidou is just so peak. Now Raidou is hard. Raidou is the fight where you want to apply all your skills that you learned from all the other monsters up until now. You want to apply it to this fight. Me and my friends learned his moveset. We took him down a few times. I even soloed him, surprisingly. And even all that wasn't enough for the final monster in this beta. The 6th monster, the flagship of wilds, Arkveld. Now it says Arkveld is the same difficulty as Raidou, but that is not true. Arkveld is faster, he's stronger, he has way more one-shot moves. Actually, I can't even tell you which ones they are, because when I was fighting him, I was never at full health because he was tossing me around like a brag doll. He has these chain whips that can hit you from afar. He also has these cool explosions that can obliterate anything that's in front of his face, like 40 feet out. I ended up beating him on my second attempt. The video's up in the channel if you want to go look. And it felt like barely. I can't remember the time. I think I had maybe like 1 minute left on like a 20-minute timer. So yeah, we barely took him down. And we fought him multiple times after. And you know how many times we beat him? None. I don't know what happened. We all sucked, I guess. We all went downhill. Arkveld locked in and he said, you know what? You beat me once. That's not going to happen again. And every time we fought him, we've gotten super close. But, you know, we lost. But then again, that could be our fault because we were fighting him in just the regular open world. We weren't doing his quest where we got like 5 revives. We were doing it where we got like 3 and like no time. And that is something that's very special to Arkveld specifically, or I guess in this beta. When you fight him, you only have 20 minutes instead of the like original 50. And instead of 3 revives, you get 5. So I guess it balances out. You can make mistakes and die, but you better do that damage to keep up with that timer though. Whew. Yeah, let's look at the time. Yeah, that took some time. That was all the monsters. I still have like 4 other subjects to go through. And I'm sorry, this video was supposed to come out on the 19th. It is taking way longer than I thought. But let's see if we can get through these last subjects in the next 5 minutes. I don't want you guys sitting here and wasting your time all day. I guess I'll jump into the combat next. And let me just say, the combat in this game, it feels smooth. It feels nice. I don't know how the combat is of other Monster Hunter games, but like focus mode with this combat, like if you're missing your moves, like you can focus mode, you can slowly aim like, you know, your direction. It really does help you land like your hits and combos. People in my comments said, you know, focus mode is a new addition. So like the other Monster Hunters isn't quite forgiving if you miss your combos. If you just miss something, you're just straight up hitting the air while the monster is looking at you like you're an idiot. In addition to that is the wound system. I've seen pretty much everybody like this system. So on any monster, if you hit a continuous spot, a wound will show up highlighted by these like little sparkles. And if you focus mode strike that, so like you go into focus mode and press like R1 or right bumper, you will do a bunch of damage and a special animation just like for hitting that special wound. And for some particular weapons, it changes how the weapon acts. So if you do it with the longsword, it gives you a level up from your gauge. If you do it with the sword and shield, you have 2 moves you can do. You can do a triangle move or a circle move, which is like a slicing or like a blunt move. With the bow guns, it's ranged. You can sit far back and shoot the wound that you need to hit. And this is a great segue because my weapon knowledge is a little bit limited, but the weapons are sword and shield, dual blades, long sword, great sword, hammer, lance, gun lance, insect glaive, switch axe, charge blade, hunting horde, the bow guns, which is the light and heavy one, and the bow. Now, out of all of those, I've only tried 4, which is the light and heavy bow gun, the sword and shield, and the longsword. And from everyone's feedback, all the weapons seem to be performing amazing, or I should say feeling amazing. I know some weapons are underperforming and they're gonna buff them when release comes. So I know the insect glaive is gonna play a bit different. It's gonna get like a new move or something. I know the bow is getting tuned to be more in line because it was like overperforming. I believe the sword and shield is also getting a buff and a few other things I can't really remember. But from all the YouTubers that I watched that had like that early preview stuff, they're saying all of the weapons feel nice. And that's generally not the case with some Monster Hunter games, I believe. Either there'll be 1 or 2 weapons like the whole Monster Hunter game that's like, you know, underperforming, that's like neglected. But this time around, it looks like every weapon is doing pretty well. So next is the location. The first area in Monster Hunter Wilds, the Windward Plains. And there's 3 distinct sub areas in this, you know, big large area, which is like the grasslands, the desert, and like the rocky vertical region, which also goes a bit underground. And I gotta say, if any of the other regions are like this one, this is definitely gonna be one of my favorite games of all time. I feel like this area is so open and big. I didn't explore that much because I'm saving it for the full game. So what I did is I tracked the monsters and I just followed where it told me to go. I didn't go off the beaten path or like explore anywhere. I was just strictly tracking, you know, the monsters that we set out to go hunt. But when the full game comes out, I will be all over this map, collecting everything up to the little monsters, all the little materials you can get in the area. I'm gonna be doing all that. I can't wait to explore this place, you know, fully, which you could do in the beta, or actually, I don't know if they're blocking off some regions, but I'm assuming you can do in the beta if they're not keeping anything secret. But I just wanted to hold off on it because I feel like it would have more of an impact if I did it in, you know, in the full game. And now the last subject that we have to go over is the multiplayer. And something to touch on real quickly before I get into the multiplayer. I know this game had a lot of optimization issues for like PC side, and they said it's going to be all fixed and polished by the time on release, but you know, we won't know until, you know, we actually get there. On some of the YouTubers preview like footage, it does look really good. but you know, we'll see when it gets in our hands. I'm not gonna lie, it was a little confusing at first. Like you have to invite a player to your, like you have to make a link party and then you gotta invite a player to your link party, but they're not actually in your game, they're just in your link party. You gotta actually invite them to your link environment and then everybody can get together. But you can't start a quest. You can't start a quest if you're in a link party, or I mean a link environment. What you have to do is just go out and find that monster, and then the quest will start when you start fighting that said monster. If you want to start a quest, you have to back out of that link environment and they'll still be in your link party. You have to start up a quest from there by yourself, and then your friends will have to go to the invitation list and then join that quest from there. So there is quite a bit of hoops to jump through comparing it to other games, like where you just invite a player and boom, they're in your game automatically. And some people are saying they don't know if story is going to be multiplayer, because I don't think story has ever been multiplayer in these Monster Hunter games, which I think is, you know, kind of weird. I feel like in this type of game, story should absolutely be multiplayer. But again, I'm new to this franchise, so I really don't know how the campaign is. And if it's more like, you know, a single player experience, like, I don't know, like a Call of Duty campaign, that's, you know, like the set pieces and shit like that. Like the big over the top cinematic pieces. But it did take some time getting used to. And even after all that, we would get like disconnected, but like 3 or 4 times in a row. But then after that, it subsided. We were in there for like hours on end without no interruptions. But I think that's it. My experience with the beta has been overall positive. Like there is no downsides to it whatsoever. And we were playing on a super old build of the game, so I can only imagine how better it's gotten since then. Again, I apologize for not getting this video out sooner. I'm trying to be super consistent and I missed like 2 to 3 days. I apologize. My next video should be in the next 1 to 2 days as well. It's actually a Monster Hunter Rise video. Me and my friend Dustin started playing this game at 4 o'clock yesterday, and we didn't get off until 2 in the morning, like nonstop. We were we were on Rise for so long, and we sucked for about like 2 hours. We were so bad at the game, and then now we're actually pretty good. We're like blazing through it. So that'll be a fun video to make and post for you guys, you know, until like Wilds comes out. So, and hope you guys enjoy this beta review for Wilds. If you liked the video, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys for more Monster Hunter Wilds content in the future.